She didn't get Halloween until his trick-or-treating got naughty. First contact. The coastal town of Meridian Bay transformed itself each Halloween, abandoning its quaint seaside charm for a spectacle of lights, music, and elaborate decorations. This year, beneath the glow of a full moon, something extraordinary happened as the veil between worlds thinned. Though none of the revelers initially noticed the shimmer of light that touched down on the empty beach. Zara Lumi emerged from the glistening portal, her blue-tinted skin catching moonlight like morning dew on ocean glass. She adjusted to Earth's gravity with graceful movements, her long silver hair flowing as if underwater. Having studied human worlds from afar, she had chosen this night specifically because the transmissions she'd intercepted suggested it was when humans welcomed the unusual. What better time for first contact? Fascinating, she whispered, observing the distant boardwalk where humans in various disguises laughed and danced. The concept of pretending to be something else for entertainment puzzled her, yet she found herself drawn toward the celebration. Elian West adjusted his constellation-patterned mask and sighed. Another Halloween masquerade spent alone, nursing a drink at the edge of the festivities. As the town's youngest astronomy professor, he preferred stargazing to socializing, but his colleagues had insisted he make an appearance. His thoughts drifted to his research on anomalous light patterns recently detected in the night sky, when a soft voice interrupted his contemplation. "Excuse me, but what is the purpose of covering your face when everyone knows it is you beneath?" Elian turned to find himself facing the most convincing alien costume he'd ever seen. The woman's skin seemed to shimmer with an internal light, her eyes reflecting the boardwalk's colored lanterns like prisms. "That's rather philosophical for a Halloween party," he smiled, assuming she was one of his students. "The mask lets us become someone else for a night. Isn't that why you chose such an elaborate costume?" Zara tilted her head, confusion crossing her delicate features. "Costume? Oh, you believe I am participating in your disguise ritual?" Her peculiar speech pattern and unwavering commitment to character intrigued him. "Well, you're winning at it. I'm Elian, by the way, astronomy department. I am called Zara Lumi. I come from—" She paused, noticing others nearby. "Very far away. This is my first Halloween." "First Halloween? That's impossible to believe," Elian laughed, offering her a drink which she examined with careful curiosity. "Many things thought impossible merely lack proper observation," she replied, tentatively sipping before her eyes widened with delight. "This contains molecules similar to our stellar nectar." Elian found himself charmed by her commitment to her character. "Well, Zara from very far away, would you like a tour of our Halloween festivities? Meridian Bay is famous for them." As they walked along the boardwalk, Zara's genuine wonder at simple traditions, candy apples, fortune tellers, costume contests, made Elian see the familiar celebration through new eyes. Her questions were oddly specific. Why humans carved vegetables into faces? Why darkness inspired both fear and excitement? Why couples used the occasion to draw closer together? "Your world is beautiful," she said, as they paused near the old lighthouse, her hand accidentally brushing against his. The contact sent an unexpected warmth through Elian's arm. "Your world?" he asked, something in her voice making him wonder if perhaps her strangeness wasn't entirely an act. Zara looked up at the stars with unmistakable longing before meeting his eyes. "Tonight, it feels like it could be." Masked intentions. The lighthouse of Meridian Bay stood as a sentinel against the night, its beams sweeping across the darkened water in rhythmic pulses. As Elian and Zara approached the historic structure, a small crowd gathered for the midnight tour, a Halloween tradition promising tales of phantom lighthouse keepers and lost ships. "The guide says it's haunted," Elian explained as they joined the group. "Another Halloween tradition. We pretend to believe in ghosts for one night. Zara steadied his face with genuine curiosity. You do not believe in entities existing between dimensional planes? How curious when your scientists theorize about parallel universes. Her comment caught him off guard. That's actually a sophisticated way of looking at ghost stories. Are you sure you're not one of my graduate students? The tour guide, dressed as a 19th century lighthouse keeper, complete with an artificial beard and weathered coat, ushered them inside. As they climbed the spiral staircase, Zara traced her fingers along the stone walls, seemingly feeling more than just their texture. This place holds memories, she whispered. Your kind builds structures that absorb emotional energy. In the lantern room at the top, the guide dimmed the modern lights, allowing only the rotating beam to illuminate the space in passing flashes. As he began a tale of a keeper who fell in love with a mysterious woman from the sea, Elian noticed how the intermittent light made Zara's skin appear to pulse with an internal glow. And on nights like this, the guide's voice dropped dramatically, some say they see the keeper searching the waves for his lost love. The room plunged into complete darkness as the guide finished his story, eliciting excited gasps from the tour group. In that moment of manufactured fear, Zara's hand found Elian's, her touch unexpectedly warm against his skin. Your heart rate has increased, she whispered, close enough that he felt her breath against his ear. Is this the fear response the others are experiencing? When the lights returned, Elian found himself staring into eyes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. Not exactly fear, he managed to say. As they descended from the lighthouse, the Halloween festival had transformed. Couples danced to haunting melodies played by a band of skeleton-painted musicians, their movements both playful and intimate beneath strings of orange and purple lights. This appears to be a mating ritual disguised as celebration, Zara observed, watching the dancers with unabashed interest. That's a bit direct, but not entirely wrong. Halloween lets people be more uninhibited. Will you demonstrate? She asked, gesturing toward the dancing area. Despite his usual reluctance, Elian found himself leading Zara into the swaying crowd. Her movements were initially hesitant, studying his lead with analytical precision, before gradually flowing into something more natural. As the music slowed, couples around them drew closer together. Like this? Zara asked, reducing the space between them until Elian could feel the strange energy that seemed to radiate from her skin. Yes, he breathed, placing his hands tentatively at her waist. This is how humans dance when they're getting to know each other. Her arms encircled his neck with careful precision, as if she'd studied the motion but never performed it. Your species communicates much through physical proximity. The electromagnetic fields of your bodies interacting. It's quite beautiful. The scientific observation delivered with such genuine wonder made Elian smile. Most people just call it chemistry. As they swayed together, the carnival lights reflected in her silvery hair created a halo effect that reinforced his growing suspicion that her costume might be something altogether different. When she rested her head against his shoulder, she felt a subtle vibration, almost like purring emanating from her chest. Your celebration has unexpected depth, she murmured. I thought humans wore masks to hide, but perhaps they wear them to reveal. Before Elian could respond, the sky cracked with unexpected thunder. The autumn storm that had threatened all evening finally broke as rain began to fall in heavy sheets. My cottage is just beyond that path, Elian pointed toward the beach. We can wait out the storm there. Taking her hand, they ran through the sudden downpour, laughing as they dodged puddles and navigated the sandy path. By the time they reached his small beachside home, they were both drenched. Zara's silver hair clinging to her face and shoulders, her blue skin glistening with raindrops that seemed reluctant to roll off. As Elian fumbled with his keys, a flash of lightning illuminated them, and in that brief, stark light,
he saw something impossible. The raindrops on Zara's skin weren't falling away, but absorbing into her, creating momentary constellations of light beneath her surface.
Unveiled truths. The interior of Elian's cottage reflected his passion. Star charts covered the walls, books on astronomy filled the shelves, and a powerful telescope pointed skyward through a ceiling window. As they entered, motion sensors triggered warm lights that revealed the comfortable disorder of an academic's private space. "I should get you a towel," Elian said, trying not to stare at the way water droplets seemed to dissolve into Zara's skin rather than drip onto his floor. While he searched his linen closet, Zara moved curiously around the room, examining his collection of meteorite fragments and stellar photographs with unmistakable recognition. "Your images of the Cygnus region are quite accurate," she called out, "though they miss the temporal distortions visible from the higher dimensions." Elian returned with towels and a set of dry clothes. "You know astronomy?" "I know stars," she replied simply, accepting the towel with a puzzled expression. "What is the purpose of this fabric?" "To dry off," he explained, demonstrating by rubbing his hair. "Unless your costume is waterproof." Zara mimicked his motion awkwardly before setting the towel aside. "Elian, I believe I have misunderstood an important aspect of your Halloween tradition. The coverings you all wear, they aren't your natural forms?" A nervous laugh escaped him. "Of course not. They're just costumes like yours." "I am not wearing a costume," she stated with such simple conviction that the room seemed to still. "I believed this was a night when different beings could interact openly. Have I misinterpreted?" The rain intensified outside, drumming against the windows as Elian struggled to process her words. "You're saying you're actually—" "I am Zara Lumi, observer from the Celestial Collective. We study emerging civilizations across the dimensional planes." As she spoke, the blue tint of her skin brightened slightly, tiny points of light appearing beneath the surface like distant stars. "Your world's electromagnetic transmissions suggested Halloween was an appropriate time for first contact." Elian sank onto his couch, scientific training warring with disbelief. "That's impossible." "Improbable, perhaps," she corrected gently, sitting beside him. "But you are an astronomer. You understand the mathematical certainty of other intelligent life in your universe." "Understanding it theoretically and having it sit on my couch are very different things," he replied, voice unsteady. Zara tilted her head, studying his reaction. "Have I frightened you? That was not my intention." The genuine concern in her voice helped steady him. Elian was a scientist, after all. If aliens existed, and apparently they did, what better opportunity than to learn? He took a deep breath, curiosity gradually overcoming shock. "Can you prove it somehow?" he asked carefully. In response, Zara extended her hand, palm up. As he watched, tiny points of light began to swirl above her skin, coalescing into a miniature replica of his solar system, planets rotating in perfect orbital harmony. "Is this sufficient evidence?" she asked, as the tiny Earth completed a revolution around the sun hovering above her palm. Elian stared, transfixed by the impossible display. "That's incredible." His scientific mind began racing with questions. How do you generate that energy? How do you travel between stars? Why Earth? Why me? A smile spread across Zara's face, clearly relieved by his questions rather than fear. "Your curiosity is why I chose you among the many humans tonight. When I observed the celebration, I noticed that you were watching the sky while others watched each other." The storm outside intensified, lightning illuminating the room in strobing flashes that highlighted the otherworldly quality of her presence. In that moment,
Elian realized the evening had transformed from a lonely Halloween into the most significant night of his life and possibly of human history. "I have many questions about your world too," she continued, the miniature solar system fading as she lowered her hand, "particularly about your customs of connection. The dancing we shared earlier, I found it unexpectedly affecting." Elian felt a flush of warmth at her words. "Human connection is complex. We spend lifetimes trying to understand it ourselves." "Would you teach me?" she asked, moving slightly closer. "My people exchange knowledge through proximity. We can learn much from each other." The proposition hung between them, laden with implications both scientific and personal. Outside, the storm continued its assault on the small cottage, but inside, a different kind of energy filled the space between human and visitor as they stood at the threshold of an unprecedented exchange.
Rattled the windows of the cottage as Elian considered Zara's request. The scientific implications alone were staggering. First contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. Yet what captured his attention most was the gentle curiosity in her galaxy-filled eyes. "Knowledge through proximity," he repeated thoughtfully. "How does that work exactly?" Zara extended her hand, palm up, inviting him to place his own against it. "Our cellular structure allows for electromagnetic resonance. A simplified explanation would be that we can exchange neural patterns through touch." Hesitantly, Elian placed his palm against hers. The initial sensation was subtle, a pleasant warmth, a slight tingling. But it quickly intensified into something more profound. Whispers of sensation cascaded up his arm, fleeting images of worlds he couldn't comprehend flashed through his mind. "Oh," he gasped, instinctively pulling back. "That was intense." Zara's expression showed concern. "I'm sorry. I should have moderated the connection better. Human neural pathways are more receptive than I anticipated." "No, it's fascinating," Elian assured her, scientific curiosity overriding his momentary discomfort. It felt like seeing through someone else's eyes, but more. The rain continued its steady rhythm against the roof as they sat closer together on the small couch. Elian's cottage suddenly seemed both too small and exactly right for this impossible encounter. "May we try again?" she asked. "I'll attenuate the connection." This time when their hands met, the sensation was gentler, a warm current flowing between them, carrying fragments of experience rather than overwhelming his senses. Elian saw glimpses of stars from impossible angles, felt the weightlessness of moving between dimensions, experienced colors beyond the human spectrum, translated into feelings his mind could process. "Your world," he whispered, eyes closed in concentration. "It's beautiful." "As is yours," Zara replied softly, "so vibrant with emotion. Your species feels everything so intensely." When they separated this time, tiny points of light hovered between their palms like fireflies, before slowly fading. The connection had left Elian slightly breathless, his heart racing with the thrill of discovery. "Human closeness," he began, gathering his thoughts. "It's similar in some ways. We share ourselves through touch, through proximity, though not with the same literal exchange." Zara looked intrigued. "Show me?" The request hung between them, loaded with implications that transcended scientific exploration. Elian hesitated only briefly before reaching out to brush a strand of silver hair from her face. The simple gesture sent a visible ripple of light beneath her skin. "That's how it begins," he explained softly. "Small gestures, testing boundaries." "Your touch creates resonance patterns," Zara observed, her voice carrying a slight vibrato. "Different from the formal connection we initiated, more spontaneous." Encouraged by her response, Elian let his fingers trace the curve of her jaw, marveling at the way her skin seemed to shimmer in response. Human connection is often less about information
and more about sensation, about being present with another person. Zara mirrored his action, her fingers light against his face. Like this? Her fingers left traces of warmth that lingered pleasantly on his skin. Yes, exactly like that. As the storm reached its peak outside, they explored this new territory together, the universal language of touch, translated between species. Zara learned the human custom of intertwined fingers, the comfort of an embrace, the significance of reduced distance. Each new discovery brought flickers of light dancing beneath her skin, casting gentle illumination in the dim room. "Your species communicates so much without words," she observed as they sat with foreheads touching, sharing breath in the quiet moment. "It's beautifully inefficient." Elian laughed softly. "That might be the most accurate description of human intimacy I've ever heard." When their lips finally met, a boundary crossed with deliberate care, the cottage filled with soft, pulsing light emanating from Zara's form. The kiss was gentle, exploratory, a convergence of worlds neither had imagined possible hours earlier. Elian felt a tingling sensation spread throughout his body, as though every cell was suddenly more alive, more aware. "That was," Zara whispered when they parted, her voice containing harmonics he hadn't noticed before, "extraordinary." "Your species exchanges energy this way regularly?" Elian smiled, feeling strangely lightheaded from the experience. The room around them was illuminated by the soft glow emanating from Zara, patterns of light shifting beneath her skin like cosmic nebulae. As the night deepened, they continued their cultural exchange, learning the subtle differences and surprising similarities between their forms of connection. Zara shared the celestial energies that flowed through her being, creating dancing lights that surrounded them as their explorations intensified. Elian introduced her to the simple human pleasures of closeness, the comfort of lying together, listening to the storm while sharing warmth. "In my world," Zara explained as they lay entwined, her head resting against his chest, "we rarely experience physical forms for extended periods. The sensation of heartbeats, of breath, of time passing in measured intervals, it's fascinatingly concrete." "And in my world," Elian responded, fingers trailing through her luminescent hair, "we rarely get to experience anything beyond the physical. This connection with you, it's like seeing a hidden dimension that was always there." Outside, the storm gradually subsided, leaving only the gentle patter of raindrops and distant thunder. Inside the cottage, human and celestial being remained wrapped in a cocoon of shared discovery. The boundaries between teacher and student, between worlds, pleasantly blurred by newfound intimacy.
Dawn decisions. The first light of dawn filtered through the windows of Elian's cottage, casting long shadows across the floor where scattered star charts and astronomy books lay forgotten. On the small porch overlooking the beach, Zara and Elian sat wrapped in a blanket, watching as the storm clouds of the previous night retreated across the horizon. "The dimensional aperture will reopen soon," Zara said quietly, her luminescence subdued in the growing daylight. "The alignment that allowed my passage only occurs during what your people call Halloween, when the boundaries between realms thin." Elian tightened his arm around her shoulders, the scientific wonder of their night together now tempered by the reality of imminent separation. "You have to leave today? There's no way to extend your stay? The research possibilities alone—" "That is very human of you," she interrupted gently, a smile in her voice, immediately thinking of the knowledge to be gained. "Can you blame me?" he asked, gesturing broadly. "First contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. The implications for physics, for astronomy, for our understanding of consciousness itself." "For the heart?" she added softly. Elian fell silent, his scientific enthusiasm giving way to the more personal reality of their connection. Yes, he admitted. That too. They watched as the sun continued its ascent, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that reflected off the wet sand of the beach. In the distance, the lighthouse stood silent, its beacon no longer needed in the light of day. My people will be fascinated by what I've learned, Zara said, her hand finding his beneath the blanket, especially about human intimacy. We've observed your species from afar, but experiencing it directly? It's given me insights no observation could provide. Will you tell them about us? About this night? Elian asked. Some aspects will remain private, she assured him, the lights beneath her skin pulsing gently. What passes between two beings during connection is sacred across dimensions. As they sat in contemplative silence, Elian's mind raced with questions, with possibilities, with the aching awareness that their time was rapidly diminishing. "Could I come with you?" he finally asked, the words spilling out before he could consider their implications. "Your physical form would not survive the transition between dimensions," she explained gently. "And I cannot remain here without risking molecular destabilization." "So that's it? One night of cosmic connection and then we return to our separate worlds as if nothing happened?" The bitterness in his voice surprised even him. "Not as if nothing happened," she corrected, taking his face between her hands. Where they touched, a gentle glow spread across his skin that lasted for a moment before fading back into normalcy. "Everything happened, and will continue to happen in ways neither of us fully understand yet." Elian covered her hands with his own. "What do you mean?" Zara explained, "The exchange we shared was not merely physical or emotional. Our energies have become entangled. Quantum resonance patterns that will persist across dimensional boundaries." "Like quantum entanglement?" he asked, the scientist in him grasping for familiar concepts. "Similar but more complex," she smiled. "A part of me will remain with you, and a part of you now exists within me. Distance cannot sever such connections." As the sun climbed higher, a subtle shimmer began to appear on the beach. A distortion in the air that rippled like heat waves rising from hot sand. Zara's skin responded, her luminescence intensifying as she noticed it. "The aperture is forming," she said, rising to her feet. Elian stood beside her, suddenly desperate to extend their time together. "Will you come back? Next Halloween, will the aperture reopen?" "If the cosmic alignments permit," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been present before. "My people only meet at this sacred time to share knowledge and destroy everything that your kind would call numbers." The weight of this cosmic uncertainty settled between them as they made their way down to the beach, hands intertwined. The shimmering distortion had grown larger, pulsing with energy that seemed to call to Zara, her own luminescence responding in kind. "I have a tradition to share with you before I go," Elian said suddenly. "A human custom when two people part ways." From his pocket, he removed a small object, a polished piece of meteorite he had kept as a paperweight, its surface etched with constellations he had carefully added himself. "A token to remember our world by," he explained, placing it in her hand. Zara studied it with evident emotion, the lights beneath her skin swirling in complex patterns. "It contains iron from a star's death," she observed. "Perfect symmetry. I came from the stars to find you, and you give me a star to take back." "And this," Elian continued, leaning forward to place a gentle kiss on her forehead, "is how humans say goodbye to someone they hope to see again." The kiss left a momentary glow on her skin, like a third eye of light that slowly faded. In response, Zara placed her palm against his chest, directly over his heart.
A warm sensation spread through him, and when she removed her hand, a small pattern of lights continued to pulse beneath his skin for several seconds, before fading from visibility. "Now you carry starlight within you," she explained. "It will guide me back to you when the dimensions align again." The distortion on the beach had grown more defined, taking on the appearance of a doorway formed of light and shifting energy. Zara stepped toward it, her form already beginning to shimmer in response to its pull. "I have a tradition to share with you before I go," she said, turning back to face him one last time. "A human tradition when two people part ways." Elian smiled through the ache building in his chest. "Sometimes humans just say, 'See you later.' It's less final than goodbye." "See you later, Elian West, observer of stars, teacher of connection." As she stepped into the shimmering aperture, her form gradually dissolved into patterns of light that spiraled upward, merging with the morning sky until only a faint shimmer remained. Then, with a soft pulse that Elian felt rather than heard, the dimensional doorway collapsed, leaving only empty beach and gently lapping waves. Elian remained there long after she had gone, watching the place where dimensions had briefly touched. Occasionally, he pressed his hand to his chest, imagining he could still feel the warmth of the starlight she had left within him. The scientist in him had 1,000 questions, theories to develop, papers to write, yet he knew instinctively that some discoveries were too personal, too profound to share. As he finally turned back toward his cottage, he noticed something strange. The small meteorite he had given Zara now lay on the sand where she had stood, but transformed. What had been dull iron now gleamed with an internal light, tiny points of brilliance visible within the stone like captured stars. Elian picked it up, feeling its familiar weight now charged with new energy. The meteorite had become a message, a promise written in starlight. What exists between worlds cannot truly be separated. He pocketed the glowing stone and began walking back to his cottage, already calculating the days until next Halloween. In the sky above Meridian Bay, a single star shimmered momentarily out of sequence with the others, a cosmic wink that only one human on Earth would have understood.